Okay, it is 9:32, and I will call this meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District to order. And I would ask the clerk to call the roll to establish a quorum.
Member Bruins?
Present.
Member Harris?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Hume? Lalo'i? Singh Allen?
Here.
Sander? Natoli?
Here.
Orozco?
Here.
Howell?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
Valenzuela?
Here.
Bang?
Here.
Schneer? Villegas? And Chairperson Desmond.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Great. I'd ask the directors to please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Please read the cable announcement and opening statements.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District is being broadcast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Sunday, April 17th at 3 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County Supervisors and City of Sacramento Council members is paid to the county and city respectively to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. The county fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and use of courteous language. The county does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the meeting is open to the public attendance pursuant to health and safety guidelines. The practice of social distancing and wearing of face coverings, mask, or shield is recommended for the health and safety of all persons participating in person during the meeting, although it is not required. To make a public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk. The chairperson will call your name when it is your turn to make a comment. You may also send a written comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes the statement.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. And now we'll move on to our Regional County Sanitation District consent item, item number 1. Madam Clerk, please call the item.
This is contract to approve the selection of an agreement with Moniz Architecture to provide engineering architectural services for the I-E Locker Room Expansion and Fitness Center project.
Okay, and I'll ask my fellow directors if there's any comments or questions about this item.
I'll move consent.
Okay, it sounds like we have a,
Is that a motion by Director Howell?
It's seconded by the barking dog.
Yeah, him too.
Okay, I second it. Totally second it.
Thank you.
we'll keep that in mind if we need a quorum in the future. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any public comments on this item?
There are no public comments, and I do not see any members with their hands raised.
Okay, then I will close the public comments, and we have a motion and a second. Please call the vote.
Member Bruins?
Aye.
Harris?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Kennedy? Lalo'i? Singh Allen?
Aye.
Sander? Natoli?
Aye.
Orozco?
Aye.
Howell?
Aye.
Cerna?
Aye.
Valenzuela?
Yes.
Bang?
Yes.
Villegas. Desmond.
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Great, thank you. And number 2 for Regional SAN is off-agenda comments. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
We do not have anyone signed up to speak for off-agenda comments.
Okay, great. All right, so moving along to Regional Sanitation District and the Sacramento Area Sewer District matters. We have 2 consent items. Madam Clerk, please call those.
Item number 3, you're acting as both the Sacramento Regional Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District. Number 3 is a contract to authorize the district engineer to execute the wastewater service contract and operating agreement between the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, the Sacramento Area Sewer District, and the Housing Authority of the County of San Joaquin. And the other is an authorization for continuation of remote teleconference meetings.
Okay, any comments or questions from the directors on either items 3 or 4?
I will move that without concurrence from the dog.
Actually, Chair, I do have a question.
Okay, Director Harris.
So I'd just like to ask staff what this means to our capacity for treatment. If we, and what are the mechanics of getting sewage from Thornton to the treatment plant?
So first of all, the capacity, it's a tiny, tiny drop on the bucket, insignificant to the treatment plant capacity. The pipeline capacity, it's smaller because, to get to your second question, there's a force main that takes the wastewater from Cortland and Walnut Grove, and it actually had to veer into San Joaquin County a little bit. And there's a booster pump station not too far from Thornton. So they're building some piping to get it to that booster station, but that's the sort of the mechanics of getting it there. There is limited capacity in that pipeline, and that's why there's a limitation in the contract on how much capacity they have.
I see. Thank you, Christoph. That clears up my questions. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, is that
Chair, this
Director
is-
Natoli?
Yeah, I just by way of a little bit of background, when we closed the Walnut Grove and Thornton individual sewer plants, and we had to run the line across easterly across our county, and then snake its way through Thornton up along Franklin Boulevard. That was part of the agreement with San Joaquin. I was involved at the time with the then supervisors. Supervisor represented the district and with the county folks. It's an unincorporated area community, very small community on the just immediately east of I-5. That was part of the agreement that if they allowed us to move through their county, and as Christoph said, the pump station just north of the town of Thornton. But it was part of the negotiated agreement that again with limited capacity, and I trust that they're probably running the same thing we are with some of our legacy communities, the Delta, and that is obviously on septic systems they have small populations, but some housing developments that I trust are probably in need of sewer connections. So I just wanted to provide that background. Thanks.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
That's helpful. I appreciate that. And I also, appreciate in the staff report, I think probably several of us had the question, how does this work? Because it's outside our jurisdiction. And you explained that in the staff report, the exemption we have from LAFCO in this situation. So, okay. Any other comments from or questions from directors? Do you see any?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on items 3 or 4?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, well, no further discussion. We have a first and a second, I believe. Clerk, please call the vote.
I'm sorry, who called the first and the second? I didn't hear that.
Howell moved it. I don't know if there was a second, though.
So Director Howell moved it. Chair will second.
Thank you. Member Bruins?
Aye.
Member Harris?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
Kennedy? Laloe? Singh Allen?
Aye.
Sander?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Orozco?
Aye.
Howell?
Yes.
Cerna?
Aye.
Valenzuela?
Yes.
Bang.
Yes.
Villegas. And Desmond.
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to the district's separate matters, item 5, the director's comments and district engineer matters. I'll turn it over to you, Christoph.
All right, just a couple of things. First of all, just the upcoming board meetings. We do have both meetings in April, so April 27th will be our next board meeting. And then it's getting to be a little bit of a busy season, so we're going to have both of the meetings in May as well. We have some separate items, and we also have our budgets coming for both districts. So that's why we're going to need the May meetings as well. So that's it on the meetings. And then, well, I guess related to meetings, we have the remote teleconference item that your board just approved. We are currently in this hybrid mode, and I would love to see as many board members as we can down here, but I completely understand the current situation, and having a 17-member board, it's hard to even fit everyone on that dais. So that is the challenge, and we're kind of working towards trying to get more members down here. But in the meantime, we're planning for at least the midterm, short term, to be in this hybrid mode.
And thank you, Christoph. I'll just chime in there as well. Yes, we do have, I think, a lot of space here where if some additional directors would like to come and we can still spread out, I think that would be terrific. I agree with you. It is nice to see folks in person, and it'd be nice to see someone other than just Director Villegas up here with me, as much as I like him. So I would encourage that, and I checked with our clerk staff to ensure that would not be a challenge for them. And if the meeting is here in the board chambers, I'm told that it's not a problem to do the hybrid model. So would just ask that if members are going to be in person for any meetings, to please let Madam Clerk know in advance so we can be prepared for you. Okay, Christoph, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, any comments or miscellaneous comments or questions from any of the directors? Yes, Director Vegas.
Actually, I do. I was wondering, and I think this individual has maybe made the rounds, talked to many of the board members, but I wondered if we could ask staff to address either in writing or maybe verbally the notion of what can be done or what can't be done relative to the rate and fee structure that we have given the increase in the number of tiny homes that are being built. I know there are individuals that are trying to figure out how to be good stewards of our precious resources by living, a little more modestly. And so I know there's a lot of work that's gone into our rate and fee structure. I know that's very difficult to sort of try to untangle. Many of us were part of that conversation many years ago, but I just wondered if there's something that I could share with the public, because I'm being asked. I know this individual is representing many individuals who are considering doing the tiny home on lots that are where normally they would be charged, the fees that are assessed for traditional single-family homes. And so I don't know what the answer is, but I would at least like to put that on the radar so that we can provide an answer to individuals that are continuing to ask that question.
So there's several issues with the tiny home concept and how it, at least as far as trying to fit it into our structure that we have. One of the issues is that if you give some kind of a discount, usually you have to have a justification for that, and it requires some kind of study. It's very challenging to study because we don't have very many of them. And I don't know, maybe there are some studies out there that we could lean on, but you would assume that you would get less sewage from a tiny home. But our current approach for residential is a postage stamp kind of approach. So whether your house is small or large, you end up paying the same amount. But with study information that showed that there was less flow that could have a small result in a small decrease, we could introduce an ordinance amendment to have a separate category. Related to that issue is that the amount of sewage that is generated by a home is not the only driver in the cost. And so there's a lot of fixed costs that don't change. So again, it may have a small reduction, but I would be surprised if it would have a large reduction. Perhaps other issue is that you'd have to have a way to control that property remained as a tiny home and you didn't put a larger house on there later on. That would have to trigger a reassessment of the fees. That would be another issue to consider. But so those are some of the issues. Again, if there was the will from the board to have staff go and try and study that would be the next step. Again, I don't know. We could at least do some looking around and see if there are some wastewater studies out there on the tiny homes that can give you an idea of how much wastewater they're generating.
Yeah, I'm not looking to try to redirect resources. I mean, if there's something that's readily available, I don't want to try to reinvent any wheels here, but if there's something that we can at least point to say whether or not it makes sense at this juncture, or maybe some point in the future, but I would imagine it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So anyhow.
No, that's great. I agree with Director. Thank you for raising that. That's actually, we need to leave no stone unturned in terms of looking at ways we could possibly attract more, housing solutions like that. And if it results in any kind of decrease in expenses, then I'd certainly like to see if maybe there is something on the shelf that other districts have looked at, maybe, Christoph. I think I'd have a lot of interest in that. So
I think we can.
Mr. Chair.
Director Natoli?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut Christoph off. I just wanted to say that at least one party has visited with me. She thought in my role as chair of the board of supervisors that I had some additional input, but I obviously explained to her, and I know staff talked with her, Christoph and others, I think, spoke with her. But I would concur with what you were saying, and I know, and Christoph, I talked about this just a little bit, is that we had a senior project out in the north area, I think maybe in the city cycle, it might have been in the unincorporated area, where they actually did that. They did a specific study for that development, that complex, in order to reduce the connection fee, I think, to half of what it would have been at the time. And I could be wrong about the detail, and we required that study and so forth. But I think there's a way that you can, certainly flag a lot if it's permitted for a small house, whatever jurisdiction it's in, and that in the event in the future, some coordination, obviously, so that you don't benefit some ratepayer to the detriment of all the rest. But I think there's a way to potentially do this, and I know, again, staff has been creative in the past, and we obviously have some detail. I think we still have that one report. It may not be applicable here because that may be a very different situation in the sense that was going to be for all time, I guess, age-restricted community and such. But I think similar arguments were presented at the time, and I know that we had to work through those issues. So I don't know, Chris. I'm obviously going to say you may want to respond to that. It would seem to me we could do other jurisdictions, I'm sure, coming to grips with this as well. So,
and just to add to Don's point about that, I remember that conversation, and I want to say that might have been 15 years ago that we had that discussion. And at the time, we were talking about the fact that, apparently there is data out there that seniors generate significantly less wastewater than conventional single-family homes. And I made reference to a number of jurisdictions in Southern California. San Diego is coming to mind immediately. So you might want to contact some of those agencies. And what they had done, they'd actually done some surveys about it, and they tied it, if I remember correctly, the wastewater fees were actually tied to the water usage because the water usage was also significantly less. But given the number of water agencies that we have within the district service area, that could be cumbersome.
Yes, and again, water use is only part of the overall equation. But I think what we could do first is just to do the desktop type study, and let's look around and see if there's what information is out there. I don't think we've looked that far yet.
Great, and maybe we'll agendize that for a future date to come back and discuss it. Yeah.
There could be some information out there, but it could be kind of opening a can of worms.
Okay, thank you, Director Howell, and the other comments, and Director Villegas.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, is that Director Sander?
Yes, it is.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick comment. I've heard for years a problem that our park district has with regard to installation of water fountains at public parks, that there's a large fee charged by the sewer connection, essentially, that bars them from putting water fountains in parks. That could have a direct relationship to the previous discussion of tiny homes as well. If you're trying to provide water at some location, and there's what they tell me is there's a $75,000 fee, but for a new connection. So I just wanted to throw that in with in the rest, in the sense that it might have a similar impact.
We can look into that a little bit, but I'm certain that the fee, even a full residential home, is not anywhere near $75,000. So we can get you some information. If there is something that we can address with parks, because I know sometimes that's an issue. You got like a single bathroom. We can look at that, but I'd have to look back at the ordinance too and see if we have any special consideration for parks.
Okay.
But let us research and get back to you on that, Director Sander.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sander. Okay, any other comments or questions from directors? I don't see any on my list here. Alma, do you see any hands raised?
I do not see any additional hands raised.
Okay, and any public comment on this item?
We do not have any public comments.
All right, let's move on to item number 6, consent matter for Sacramento Area Sewer District. Madam Clerk.
This is the final contract acceptance for the Capitola Pump Station.
All right, any comments or questions from directors on this consent matter? I don't see any.
I don't see any hands raised, and we do not have any public comments.
Okay, no public comments either. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's Director Sander, seconded by Director Natoli. Please call the vote.
Member Bruins?
Aye.
Member Hume? Member Natoli?
Aye.
Member Howell?
Yes.
Cerna?
Aye.
Vang?
Yes.
Sander?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
And Desmond?
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Okay, and then we'll move on to our final matter, which is a sewer district separate matter, item 7. Madam Clerk.
Item number 7 is we are introducing proposed sewer impact fee increases and amendments to the Sacramento Area Sewer District Sewer Ordinance and continuing the ordinance to April 27, 2022 for adoption.
Okay, I will turn it over for the presentation.
So just a couple of quick comments before Dave Achanacek will be making the presentation today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. So this is an ordinance change proposed, which would create an increase in the impact fees for SASD. And just to get some, kind of get your bearings on impact fees, those are one-time fees paid by developers to build. In the case of SASD, they build our trunk facilities, which are medium-sized pipelines and pump stations. And this is essentially a way to share the costs evenly over the various developers, because these are usually put in by larger developers, because they serve more than one development. So this spreads out the costs evenly. The interesting thing about the SASD program, it's somewhat unique, I think, is that it's a pass-through program. So we collect those fees that come in. They're set in a separate bucket, and then we use them to reimburse the developers. So developers build trunk projects, they get reimbursement agreements, and then we pay those funds that are coming in as fees, we pay them out to the developers. So essentially the risk is on the development, not on the district. We only pay when the fees come in. So with that kind of background, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dave.
Thank you, Christoph.
Christoph. Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I'm Dave Achanacek from Policy and Planning. Christoph was mentioning some fee structures that's associated with the expansion areas, and there's also a relief area, and we'll talk about both of those as we go forward here. Just a few slides. We'll talk about the basis for the impact fee, the relief and expansion area information. That'll include the fee structures that we're proposing. Some of the outreach that we did, the other ordinances, there's some other ordinance adjustments that will go along with the fee structure changes. Next steps and questions. The calculation of the methodology was approved by your board in 2012. And in a nutshell, what it does is it takes the future of all infrastructure costs and it divides by the number of acres of development that infrastructure will accommodate. So effectively what that does is gives you the dollar amount per acre. And it is net acreage, which is important as we go forward as part of the calculation. There are two areas, as I was just mentioning, relief and expansion. In the relief area, that's area that primarily is already developed and there's already infrastructure in place, and occasionally we need to expand that infrastructure, so there's additional costs associated with the expansions, and that's what that fee captures. And that relief area fee is actually revenue that comes in and reimburses SASD for those costs. SASD is the primary developer of those types of infrastructure costs. So that stays with SASD. The expansion, as Christoph was mentioning, is a fee where we receive funding, and that is used to reimburse developers. You'll see occasionally a developer reimbursement agreement come to your board, and that is when a developer has created an infrastructure that they will be reimbursed for, a trunk system. And when that agreement gets in place, we build a list of developers, and the developer impact fee or the expansion area impact fees go towards paying off those developers. They're paid off sequentially, one at a time, as the revenue comes in, and we pay off the last developer. We go to the next developer and continue to pay them off as time goes on. The system capacity plan is the document and study that does a projection of infrastructure costs. We most recently did one in 2020, and that's the nature of some of the fee adjustments that are happening here today. The SCP had some adjustments to what our forecasts were for infrastructure costs and also the developable acreage. One of the other things, I'll get to that in a second. And then the other thing that fees increase by, if not for the SCP, the system capacity plan, fees are adjusted primarily by inflation. So as I mentioned, there were some adjustments in the SCP for the relief area. Not much in the way of change. The infrastructure costs didn't change much. The acreage didn't change much. And in fact, what we'll see as I share the next slide, the relief area actually kind of levels off. It doesn't continue on a trajectory that it was before. It's actually kind of a lesser increase. It is an increase, but not much. On the expansion side, there was additional costs associated with infrastructure that's accounted for in the new SCP. And then one of the other things that's important that happened this time as we were studying the fees for this 3-year fee extension increase was that we did not properly really account for open area. That means roads, walk paths, parks. When we were looking at undeveloped areas or areas that don't have development plans on them, we were not accounting for the fact that not all of the acreage in those areas are going to produce fee revenue. So that has caused a little bit of an adjustment to the fee structure. And you'll see those in the next slide.
Excuse me, Dave, I'm sorry. Is that why the net acre discussion becomes important for that very reason?
Yes.
Okay, I'm getting it here.
And in the ordinance, you'll see it is written in the fee schedule that the dollar amounts are per net acres, and that net acreage is without roads and parks and walk paths and drainage ditches and other things that are not revenue generating acreage. So you'll see this is in your board item, the The relief area, as it stands right now, is at 464. The next 3 years, it really only increases about a percent, not much of an increase, actually less than what we have in the past, just accounting for inflation. The expansion side, though, is substantially more, and it is just the 3 years that this adjustment is being taken into account. The open space, what we call an open space factor, this effort to recognize the net acres, is captured in these 3 years predominantly. So there's a fairly significant increase in fees over the next 3 years, about 8 to 9% per year. We did some outreach. We contacted the Building Industry Association and had a couple of meetings with them. In fact, went as far as sharing our revenue model with them. They were actually pretty impressed by what we have in our revenue model. It's a fairly sophisticated model that we use to calculate fees. They, clearly were not happy about fee increases, as you wouldn't expect them to be, but ultimately they were accepting to the fees that we were proposing. After this meeting, we will be sending out notices to interested parties there in local jurisdictions regarding the fee increase. And then we also have an online website that we will be posting those proposed fee increases. sacsewer.com. So with the fee adjustments, it is an ordinance adjustments, and while we're at it, there are other ordinances that will be adjusted. We have some small adjustments to our relief and expansion area map. Some of those are boundary adjustments. The city of Sacramento had an annexation, so there's a change to that. Otherwise, pretty much the map adjustments are line weight and other minor modifications to the map. We have updates to the cost schedule for sewer construction. This is the cost schedule that we use to estimate projects and is part of what we use to establish developer reimbursement agreements. So that is changed to account for inflation. And then we had some minor updates to definitions primarily associated with the master interagency agreement that we have just executed. So next steps, today we're introducing the ordinance amendments. After this meeting, we'll be advertising for a hearing that will be held on April 27th. At the April 27th board meeting, we'll bring this item back for board adoption of the ordinance amendments. And then the impact fee adjustments will take effect on July 1st. And with that, any questions?
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any questions or comments from directors? Do you see any?
I do not see anyone with their hands raised in Zoom.
Okay, appreciate the presentation. How about any public comments on this item?
We have not received any public comments.
Okay, bring it back to the board. Again, seeing I don't see any directors queued up, their hands raised. Then I'll entertain a motion then, this item.
I'll move it.
Director Howell moves.
Totally seconds.
And Director Natoli seconds. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Member Bruins?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Howell?
Yes.
Cerna?
Aye.
Vang?
Yes.
Sander?
Aye.
Frost?
Aye.
And Desmond.
Aye.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Okay, thank you. The other items we have are receive and file. Any closing comments from directors? If not, boy, we're pretty close to the estimate of 10:10 to finish the meeting. I gotta say, Christoph, that's pretty good.
I just wanted to say I got a pop-up ad for SRCS, for SASD on my phone, and I thought it was well done.
Thank you, Director Howell. Okay, well, there being no further business, then I will adjourn the meeting at 10:06 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you all.